कंठयोस्पुरा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय। Okay, but before this, I want to take up this bit. This is long comment. Kramasandar 3.31.11. Okay, 3.31.11. Athamana Rishirgita Saptavadri Panjali Stuvita Tam Viklavaya Vacha Yeno Dharer Pitaha. Bhanu Maharaj translates this as a wise devotee jiva, frightened and pleading, bound up by the seven dhatus, folding his hands, prays with distressed words to the Lord who has placed him in this place. And this Kramasandarbha portion is from Bhakti Sandarbha 149 to 151. It looks like 149 to 151 and a little bit more. Nathamanayati, pleading. Tatparyam yatha. The purport of the statement is Sakrit bhajanena eva sarvamapya ayuhu sapalam. By once worshipping the Lord, by once engaging in devotion service to the Lord, one's entire life becomes completely successful. Iti udakritameva Shishaunaka Vakyena. This was already illustrated. This was already illustrated by the statement of Shishaunaka, Ayur Harati Vaipam Sam 2.3.17 Ityadi Granthena. In texts such as 2.3.17 Ayur Harati Vaipam Sam Udyanastan Chayannasau Tasyarte Yakshanonita Uttama Shloka Vartaya. Meaning, both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the Supreme Lord. What is this? Eva Bhakti-vaibhava? Okay, that's something again of the state of Brahma. This is 3 point. Three point 15, 25, 31, 3.31.11. Evam. It's not Eva. एवं भक्त्याभासेनापि अजामिलादौ पापघ्नत्वं दृश्यते. Simply by an abhasa of bhakti, a semblance of bhakti. In this way, even with a semblance of bhakti, Ajamila and others, they have destroyed their sinful reactions, and this is seen. तथा सर्वकर्मादि ध्वंसपूर्वक परमगति प्राप्तौ स्वल्प आयासेन एव भक्तेः कारणत्वं श्रूयते. and we hear and we learn. We learn that bhakti is the cause of destroying all of one's karmic reactions and so on, and helping us attain, helping the devotee attain the supreme goal through a very mild effort. Laghu Bhagavate, as stated in Laghu Bhagavata, it is not Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Laghu Bhagavata. Vartamanam chayat papam yad gatam yad bhavishyati tat sarvam nirlahatyashu Govinda Nala Kirtanat. Govinda Nama Kirtanat. Should be Govinda Nama Kirtanat. My Kamasandar it says Govinda Nala Kirtanat, which is definitely a scribal error. Must be Govinda Nama Kirtanat. So this means that all sins, past, present, and future, are burnt up by the fire of chanting Govinda's name. Or here, even if you take Govinda Nala as the reading, then Govinda itself would be the name. By uttering, by the kirtan of Govinda, which is like a fire. तथा एव च तत्र यथा कथंचित् तद् भक्ति संबंधस्य कारणत्वं दृश्यते. And in the scriptures, it is, we see that any relationship with devotion service to Krishna to any extent brings about a reason for that, a reason for the destruction of sin. Brahma-vaivarte, as stated in Brahma-vaivarte, sa samaradhito devo muktikrut siyad yatha tatha anichchayapi huta bhuk samsprishto dahatit vijap. The Lord gives liberation by being worshipped, just as fire by contact destroys, even if not desired. So if one completely worships, samaradhitaha, if one completely worships the Lord, then he, simply by his own wish, he becomes the liberator. And the example is, oh my dear Brahmana, when fire is touched even without desire, it burns up. It burns whatever it touches. Skande, Uma Maheshwara Samvade, Skanda Purana, in the conversation between Uma and Maheshwara. Diksha Matrena Krishnasya Naramoksham Labhanti Vai Kim Punar Ye Sada Bhaktya Pujayan Tachutam Nara. Simply by initiation with relationship with Krishna, men attain liberation. Then what to speak of those who are constantly engaged in devotional service, men who are constantly engaging in devotional service to Lord Achyuta. Brahannaradiye, akamadapiye Vishnu, sakrit pujam prakurvate, natesham bhavabandastu, kadachidapi jayate. Those who worship Vishnu without any material desires, akama, even once sakrit, they are no longer they are, for any reason, they are not subjected to bhava bandha, material bondage. Padme devadyuti stutau, in the prayer of devadyuti, sakraducharayed yastu narayana matandritaha शुद्धांतः करणो भूत्वा निर्वाणम अधिगच्छति. If one only once utters Narayana atandritaha, with attention, then his mind becomes fully purified and he attains nirvana or liberation. Itihasa samuchaye Sri Narada Pundarika Sambade. In Itihasa Samuchaya, in the conversation between Sri Narada and Pundarika, ये नृशंसा दुराचारा पापाचार रताः सदा तेपि यान्ति परं धाम नारायण पदाश्रया लिप्यन्ते न च पापेन वैष्णवा वीतकल्मषा पुनन्ति सकलान् लोकान् सहस्रांशुरिवोदितः. Those who are cruel, of bad conduct, and constantly relishing sinful activities, even they attain the supreme abode, having taken shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. Vaishnavas, who are freed from contamination, are not stained by sinful reactions. They purify all the worlds, just like the rising sun with its 1,000 rays. In this edition, I have more verses. It's that. Okay, wait. This is correct. Ateva Garuda Vachanam. Therefore, there is a statement in Garuda Puran. Sakrideva Prapannoyas Tavasmi Ticha Yachate Abhayam Sarvada Tasmai Dadami Etad Vratam Hare. It is the vow of Lord Hari that if a person surrenders unto him only once, saying, I am yours, and he pleads for the Lord's mercy, then Lord Hari's vow is that I will give him constant freedom from any danger. Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramachandra Vachanam. There's also a statement in the Ramayana. Sakrideva Prapuno Yastavasmi Ticha Yachate Abhayam Sarvabhutaya Dadamye Tad Vratam Hare. It should be Vratam Mama. Vratam Mama. So wrong. Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramachandra Vachanam Sakrideva Prapuno Yastavasmi Ticha Yachate Abhayam Sarvabhutaya Dadamye Tad Vratam Mama. Wrong right there. It should be Mama. Meaning is the same. If a person even once surrenders unto me and begs, saying, I am yours from now onwards, then it is my vow that I will give fearlessness to all such creatures. Creatures means it makes no difference what species of life one is in. Ate eva uktam Shri Vishnu Dharmottare. Therefore it is stated in Shri Vishnu Dharmottare. Jivitam Vishnu Bhaktasya Varam Pancha Dinani Vai Atu Kalpa Sahasrani Bhakti Heenasya Keshave. It is better to live for 5 days. The life of a Vishnu Bhakta for 5 days is better than a life of thousands of kalpas devoid of bhakti to Lord Keshava. Apanna Sanskritim Goram Yannama Vishognan Ityadi Shaunaka Vachanam. Then there is also the statement of Shaunaka 1.1.14. Apanna Sanskritim Goram Yannama Vishognan Tatas Sadhyo Vimuchyeti Yadvipyeti Swayam Bhayam. The Lord's name, which fear personified, fears, immediately liberates helpless persons afflicted by the terrors of material existence. 1.1.14. Nahi Bhagavan Ghatitam Idam Ityadi Chitraketu Vachanam. Then there is also the statement of Chitraketu. that there is nothing surprising about this. That is bad. That is not here in this section. The portion is not here. But it is in another edition. भगवान् इत्यादि चित्रवचनम् अतः यतत्र गर्भस्थस्य जीवस्य भगवत्स्तुतिः श्रूयते. So therefore, here, meaning in the third canto, this particular chapter, when we learn about the prayer to Bhagavan by the jiva within the womb of the mother, tasya eva samsara api varniyate. The material existence of such a soul is also described here. Tatra uchyate jati ekatvenai pravad varnam iti. Now here, it should be noted that both of them belong to the same category. That means you have those souls who engage in devotion service to God purely, and then you have just anybody else. But both of them are jivas, so they belong to the same category. So here both of them are being described together as if they belong to the same category. Vastu tastu kaschadeva jivaha bhagivan stauti such and nistaratyapi. In reality, though, it is only some jiva who prays to some fortunate jiva who prays in this manner to the Supreme Lord, and he is delivered. Na tu sarvasya api bhagavad jnanam bhavati. Not that every living entity in the womb of the mother develops knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. तथा च इति नैरुक्तमते च त्रिविधा जना लभ्यन्ते. And according to the Nirukti, there are three types of people. Eke purvajano atum smaranti. Some of them remember their respective previous lives. Eke sankhya yogadikam abhyasyanti. There are some who engage in the practice of sankhya and yoga and so on. All inside the womb of the mother. Eke tu Paramapurusham. And some of them, they worship the Supreme Person, Lord Vishnu. Yathoktam tatraiva. As it is stated there itself. Navame sarvam sampurnam bhavati iti bhaktva amritaschaham punarjato jataschaham punarmrita ityadi bhavana pathantaram avangmukha vidyamano jantuschaiva samanvita sankhya yogam samabhyaset purusham va panchavimshakam tatascha dashame masi prajayate ityadi. This portion we already saw in Vishnu Chakravarti. अत्र पुरुषं वा इति वा शब्दात् कस्यचिदेव भगवत् ज्ञानमिति गम्यते. And the word va, or else you might worship that Purusha who is the 25th element. So now, because it says va, or else you might, it is understood, from that it is understood that only some souls would have knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead while in that situation. Sarvasvapi avasthasu bhakti samarthatvam varnitam. Because it has already been described that bhakti is fully capable of being followed under all circumstances. This was in Chatashloki, in Karmasandarbha itself. Vedepi ekavad varnam anyatrapi drishyate. Even though there is a distinction, the a description as if they are one, that is found in other parts also. Other parts of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tritiya, for instance, in the third canto, Yatha. पादकल्पसृष्टिकथने अपि सनकादीनां ब्राह्मकल्पसृष्टानां सृष्टिवर्णनम्. Not pada. Something is wrong with this. Why does it say pada? Padma. पाद्मकल्पसृष्टिकथने अपि सनकादीनां ब्राह्मकल्पसृष्टानां सृष्टिवर्णनम्. So in the third canto, even though there is a narration, there is a description of creation as it took place in the Padma Kalpa, the creation of Sanaka, which took place in Brahma Kalpa, is presented. Tikayamcha, and in the commentary of Sri Sridhar Swami, ब्रह्मकृत सृष्टिमात्र कथन साम्येन ऐकीकृत्य उक्तिर्यम् इति योजितम्. श्री वराह अवतारवत् च. So according to Sri Sridhar Swami, it's pointed out that this description of an event of creation that was performed by Brahma has been merged into this discussion because of the fact that both creations, creation during Padma Kalpa and creation during Brahma Kalpa, were creations by Lord Brahma. So both of these have been merged together and spoken as if they are one. They're all sequentially going on. They've been merged, yojitam. Like the description of Sri Varahavata Tatra. In that regard, Prathama Manvantarasya Ado पृथिवी मज्जने ब्रह्म नासिकातः अवतीर्णः श्री वराहः ताम उद्धरन् हिरण्याक्षेण संग्रामं कृतवान् इति वर्ण्यते. So it is stated that at the beginning of the first Manvantara, when the earth was submerged or immersed, drowning inside the Garbhodaka, Sri Varaha had appeared from the nose of Lord Brahma, and he rescued Bhumi, and he engaged in warfare with Hiranyaksha. This description we find. Hiranyakshasya Shashtamanvantara Avasana Jata Prachetasa Daksha Kanyaya Titir Jata. And we know that Hiranyaksha was actually born to Diti, who was the daughter of Daksha. Daksha himself is coming from the Prachetas at towards the end of the 6th Manvantara. Tasma tatha varnanam tat avatar matratva prithvi majjana matratva aikya vivakshaya eva ghatate. Therefore, that kind of description in which both of these have been merged is only possible because in both of these descriptions, it is pointed out that the Lord had appeared, Sri Varaha had appeared, he had descended, the earth was drowning. So because this is common between both of them, these two incidents have been merged together. Tadvad atra api, like that here also. Kaschideva anyaha jivaha stauti, anyaha samsarati, ityeva mantavya. It should be understood that one jiva prays to the Supreme Lord and somebody else is in material existence. Atra purvat paramagati praptau bhaktehe parampara karanatvam cha drishyate. like in the past, as far as attainment of the supreme destination is concerned, bhakti sequentially, step by step, leads to that. That is also seen Brahmanadiya, Dvajaropana Mahatmya in Brahmanadiya, in the discussion of the glories of Dvaja Aropana. Yatinam Vishnu Bhaktanam Paricharya Parayanaihi Ikshita api gachanti papino param gatim. Why is it parampara karana? Is that correctly typed? Wait. अत्र पूर्वं परमगति प्राप्तौ भक्तेः भक्ति भक्ति आभासाख्य भक्ति मात्रस्य परंपरा कारणत्वं दृश्यते. Something has been added by the here in square brackets, that even that kind of bhakti, which is just a semblance of bhakti, will sequentially lead to the attainment of the supreme goal. That means it will become pure bhakti and then it will attain. And then this quote is given. Yatinam Vishnu Bhaktanam Paricharya Parayanaihi Ikshita api gachanti papino api param. Those people, Parayana, so very in the in the other edition of Parayana. Anyway, when those who are absorbed in menial service to yatis, sannyasis, who are Vishnu Bhaktas, even by seeing these yatis and Vishnu Bhaktas, even though they may be sinful, they attain the supreme destination, which means that they become sinless and then they attain the supreme destination. Evam Shri Vishnu Dharma, also in Vishnu Dharma, Kulanam Shatam Agami Samatitam Tatha Shatam Karayan Bhagavad Dhamma Nayatya Chutalokata Ye Bhavishyante Ye Tita Akalpat Ushah Kule Tam Staryati Samsthapya Devasya Pratimam. Person who builds the Lord's temple, he goes with 100 of his family members of the past and of hundreds and 100 from the future. If he creates a Bhagavad Dham, that means if he builds a temple of the Supreme Personality of God, in fact, it takes them to the abode of Lord Achyuta. In fact, those persons in the past and later on also, who belong to his kula, his dynasty or his lineage, up to the end of one kalpa. By this activity, he delivers them when he establishes a deity of Lord Hari. Dutan Prati Yama Agyachayam. And then there is the order of Yamaraj to his messengers. Looks like this is also from Vishnu Dharma. Yena archa bhagavad bhaktya vasudevasya karita navayutam tatkulajam pratam shasana atigam. That person who worships Lord Vasudeva with devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is outside of the jurisdiction of your discipline. Actually, the people who are born in that dynasty, numbering 90,000, they are outside of the discipline, the range of disciplinary action by all of you. Yatha aha, as it has been stated, 7.10.8. Three saptabhih ta uta pitrabhih sahatena ka yat sadhos yat kule jato bhavan vaikula pavana. O sinless Prahlad, your father has been purified along with 21 forefathers in your family. As a devotee, you purify your family. Because we are born in this family, the entire dynasty has been purified. Because you are a sadhu, you are a saintly person. Three saptabhihi, prachina kalpa agata, tadiya purva janma sambandhivi, tribhi saha, asmin janmaito hiranya kashipu, kashyapa, marichi, brahmana eva tat pitaraha iti. Oh, look at that. So here, when he says 3 lifetimes, this is for 3 lifetimes. No, it's not for 3 lifetimes. It's for 21 forefathers. 3 times 7, 21. So this refers to those who are related to him in his previous life from the previous kalpa. Those forefathers. Because in this janma, in this birth, his forefathers, who are his forefathers? Hiranyakashipu, Kashyapa, Marichi, Brahma. Only this much. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then how this 21 will come? So that is taken into consideration. The previous life. अवतारिका आरंभे तद्वत् अत्रापि कश्चिदेव अन्यः जीवः स्तौति अन्यः संसरति इत्येव उन्नयः उच्यते. That's a note. स्तुवीते इति लिंग प्रत्यय such as संभावनायाम एव स्पष्टयति. स्तुवीता, the word स्तुवीता in text 11 indicates that a self-realized soul in the womb, he would, there's a possibility that he would pray. A great soul would pray. Tataha cha ayam arthaha rishihi tatraha kopi. So the meaning is this, that the rishi could be anyone. Akasmat prachina mahat sangat janita bhagya vashat Shri Bhagavad Darshi yadi syam tada stauti api iti. If suddenly, due to the fortune brought about by some ancient association with a great, perfect, pure devotee or some exalted devotee, if one becomes a seer of Sri Bhagavan, then he also prays. अतएव तादृश भाग्य युक्तम अतीतम एकम जीवम लक्षीकृत्य जीव उवाच इति एकतुलिट प्रत्ययाभ्याम निर्देशः. So therefore, considering such a soul of such fortune, a single soul, considering such a soul, it is stated Jiva Uvacha, which is in singular, and Uvacha is in the past tense. Jiva Kala Samanya Vakshayam to Jiva Vadati Teva Yujyate. If this were to be a description of the Jiva at all points in time, if this were to be a standard phenomenon, it would have been appropriate to say that the Jiva says Jiva vadati. But that is not the case. It says Jiva uvacha. So therefore, this kind of merged discipline is presented. I mean, this is an impressive set of arguments. But it looks like Prabhupada is not focusing on talking about this. Rather, he's taking the opportunity, like Sridhar Swami, not go into all these details and simply just present information that we should be very careful in our Krishna consciousness, because otherwise we can easily fall into the trap of material existence. If you see how Prabhupada presents it here, certainly we become frightened, thinking that when we reach a certain age, again we'll become bewildered by youth and so on. So Prabhupada's presentation is like Sridhar Swami's presentation, makes us more serious about Hari Krishna consciousness. That must be the reason why Prabhupada is not giving a focused explanation of this. Okay, so let's move on. 13. Text 13. यस्तत्र बद्ध इव कर्मभिरावृतात्मा भूतेन्द्रियाशय्यमयीम् अवलम्ब्य मायाम् आस्ते विशुद्धम विकारम अखंड बोधम आतप्यमान हृदये चितम नमामि. I, the pure soul, appearing now bound by my activities, I am lying in the womb of my mother by the arrangement of Maya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is also here with me, but who is unaffected and changeless. He is unlimited, but he is perceived in the repentant heart. To him I offer my respectful obeisances. Now here also, Prabhupada himself he had noted earlier that if a soul is very fortunate, then he remembers all of his past. If he is very fortunate, he doesn't say that every soul remembers. Where is that? I'm not able to see. But there is a place where Prabhupada does mention. Earlier he says. Okay, there's a question here.
So, as there were examples here from the Lucas, so, about like if one performs little bhakti, then he gets chance to progress in the succession of bhakti, like Shraddha to Prema, he will get chance. So whenever those slokas come in scriptures where it says that you offer lamp and then you get freed from all the sins, that means that you get chance and to progress in bhakti, like that you can say.
Yeah. You are not caught up in material existence. If you have done everything without offenses, then there is the inconceivable potency of pure devotion to Krishna.
But it's written by simply showing once showing lamp to Krishna, like that.
Yeah, but it is understood. It is understood. This implied that there is no offense.
So he will be able to he will get chance to practice bhakti and progress and then become free from all the sins. That is understood, right?
That is understood, provided he is offenseless. And also certain terms and conditions will always apply. Like you see, look at the quotes given by Jiva Goswami. This is all devotional service to Lord Vishnu with surrender to Lord Vishnu. So in Shadanga Sharanagati, there are 6 items. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshishiti Vishwaso, Goptritve Varnam Tatha, Atmanikshepa Karpanya, Shadvidha Sharanagati. Now, Goptritve Varnam, that can be done only once. You don't need to do it repeatedly, only once. However, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam and these other items, they need to be At least these two items need to be carried out on a daily basis. This point is noted by Sanatana Goswami in Haribhakti Vilas. So even though it says Sakriteva Prapannoya, that person who surrenders once unto me, I deliver him. That is Goptritve Varanam. But that Goptritve Varanam should be accompanied by the other items which are meant to be applied on a continuous, uninterrupted basis for the whole life. It is a science.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
So similarly, we can understand that also, like by bhakti abhas, or same for that, by bhakti abhas, like then he surrenders and this gopit varan he does once, and then he follows the same thing, anukul and pratikul, throughout the life. Then he gets free from all.
Yes, but parampara, step by step it develops. Bhakti abhasa becomes pure bhakti.
Then he becomes free from all the sins.
Yes. Bhakti abhasa, nama abhasa, this is all part of sadhana. It is not the perfection. All right. तस्य स्वप्रभोर अद्भुतां लीलां कृपालुतां च स्मरन् स आश्चर्यमाह. And then that enlightened soul remembers the astonishing pastimes and merciful nature of his master, and in a state of wonder he speaks this current verse. Ya khalu atra asmadvidha durjeevanam anadukhamaya prati sharira eva aste kim asman palayitum kim va swairalila tvena iti na vidmaha iti bhava. The implication is this Supreme Lord, he is also with me, who is also here with me. He is also here with me. A person who is an evil living entity. There are evil living entities like me, and in each body, which is simply misery, this Supreme Lord also comes to be with us. Is it to protect us, or is it simply his unbridled, unbounded pastime? That we do not know. Tam aham namami nityanvaya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Aham swadushkrita phalam vinjanaha arvabandha yad atra asmi tad uchitameva. The bondage that I am experiencing to my karmic reactions, which is a result of my own previous forbidden activities, the miserable consequences that I find myself to be bound to, that is appropriate for. So katham tatra, sa katham atra durgandhe mahanarake antaryamittvena abhitishtati. How is it that even as the inner ruler, he is present in this great hell, stinking great hell? Even he is residing along with me. With this thought, he says, karma bhi. Baddhaiva karma bhi avrata. Karma bhi baddhaiva. As if he is bound by karmic reactions. Natu baddha. So this implies that he is not actually bound. Vrindavana bhuvi chalat charnara vindatva avratatma. Aham yatha yathaiva dehena avrata swarupaiva. Because he seems to be bound, but he is not actually. Because his lotus feet is actually walking on the land of Vrindavan. And because of that, just as I am covered by my body, he is not covered because of the reasons already noted. Kim kritva bhutadimayim mayam swashaktim avalambya pravartya. What does he do exactly? He impels his own potency, maya, which consists of the various elements and so on, gross elements and so on. ननु एवं तर्हि तस्मिन् माया अवलम्बा मालिन्यं विकारः च सज्जेत. Question: if that were to be the case, if he were to be impelling maya, then that contamination of maya as well as the degrading transformations of maya would stick to him. Iti atah. Answer: Vishuddham nirvikaram cha. He is pure, very pure, and he is untransformed. Tatra hetu. The reason for that, akhanda bodham. He possesses unlimited knowledge. He possesses unfragmented knowledge. Madhyanam iva yasya jnanam mayaya khandayetum ashakyam. His knowledge is not like my knowledge, which can be fragmented by maya. This is the meaning. Now, katham idam avagatam tvaya. Now, how is it? Question: how is it that you have understood this? Ityataha. Answer: asamanta satyamane atra hridaye sthitva. That's because I am situated here in the heart, which is actually burning. Makhyamapi evam jnanam dattam. This Supreme Being has even given me knowledge about himself. Tasya jnanam katham khanditam bhavet. Then how can this knowledge about him be fragmented? Atapyamana hridaye vasitam. It's an important expression. Okay, see, this is the Saraswati said that. Atapyamana hridaye avasitam. He is perceived when one's heart is filled with burning repentance. Amar santapta hridaye tahar oirup pratibhata hoite. My burning heart, the Supreme Lord's transcendental form, is being revealed. As stated in the previous verse, the Jiva soul says, I take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, constitutional, Jiva soul is a subordinate servitor of the Supreme Soul, the personality of God. Both the Supreme Soul and the Jiva soul are sitting in the same body as confirmed in the Upanishads. They are sitting as friends, but one is suffering and the other is aloof from suffering. In this verse, it is said, Vishuddham avikaram akhanda bodham. Super soul is always sitting apart from all contamination. The living entity is contaminated and suffering because he has a material body. But that does not mean that because the Lord is also with him, he also has a material body. He is avikaram, changeless. He is always the same Supreme. But unfortunately, the Mayavadi philosophers, because of their pure hearts, cannot understand that the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul, is different from the individual soul. It is said here, Atapyamana hridaye vasitam. He is in the heart of every living entity, but he can be realized only by a soul who is repentant. So the Christians are correct when they say, repent. Correct. The individual soul becomes repentant, that he forgot his constitutional position, wanted to become one with the Supreme Soul, and tried his best to lord it over material nature. He has been baffled, and therefore he is repentant. At that time, the Super Soul, or the relationship between the Super Soul and the individual soul, is realized. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births, the knowledge comes to the conditioned soul that Vasudeva is great. He is master and he is Lord. He is the master and he is the Lord. The individual soul is the servant, and therefore he surrenders. At that time, he becomes a Mahatma, a great soul. Therefore, a fortunate living being who comes to this understanding, even within the womb of his mother, has his liberation assured. See? Liberation assured. 14. Yah panchabhuta rachite rahita sharire channo yathendriya gunartha chidatmako ham tena vikuntha mahimana vrishim tamenam vande param prakriti pushayoh umamsam. I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of 5 elements. And therefore, my qualities and senses are being misused, although I am essentially spiritual. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature and the living entities, because he is devoid of such a material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, I offer my obeisances unto him. Anu evam chet sa kathamatra sharire tishthet. If this were to be the situation, then how can he be inside this body? For what reason is he staying inside this body? Yah sharire atra rahitaha indriyani gunarcha arthaha cha teshu eva chit chaitanyam yasya tathabhuta atma swarupam yasya soham yatha atra sharire channa eva तथा यह अत्र रहितः स्थितः अपि अस्थित एव इत्यर्थः. See, I am situated in this body which is made up of the various gross elements. And then you have these knowledge providing senses, and you have these active senses. And then you have the 3 modes of material nature. Then you have the tanmatras, sound, touch, form, taste, smell. And then you have consciousness. So the living entity is related to all of this. And then he is present inside the body. And he is in fact covered over by this body. Completely covered over. So like that, that Supreme Lord also is present inside the body. And you can say that factually he is not inside the body. Tena hetuna na visheshena kuntha mahima yasya tam. So it is for this very reason that he is not factually covered, his glory is not factually covered, and therefore I offer unto him. Tena avagunthane tipathe bhagurimatye akaralopena atra samase avaguntha mahimanam anavrita ishwarya. And for certain grammatical reasons, it is understood that the Supreme Lord's glory is uncovered. Prakritehe tadrashtuhu mahapurushasya cha param abhyam paratatvam umamsam Shri Krishnam. Now here he is referring to Prakriti. He is the Puman, or he is the Purusha. He is a Purusha of the Prakriti and the Purusha, which means that he is the master of this Mahapurusha. That means the one who glances at Prakriti. So which automatically makes it clear that he is the master of Prakriti also. He is a truth who is superior to both Prakriti and the Purusha who glances at. In other words, he is Lord Sri Krishna, the original Supreme. The difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of God is that the living entity is prone to be subjective. material nature, whereas the Supreme Godhead is always transcendental to material nature as well as to the living entities. When the living entity is put into material nature, then his senses and qualities are polluted or designated. There is no possibility for the Supreme Lord to become embodied by material qualities or material senses, for he is above the influence of material nature and cannot possibly be put in the darkness of ignorance like the living entities. Because of his full knowledge, he is never subjected to the influence of material nature. Material nature is always under his control, and it is therefore not possible that material nature can control the Supreme Personality of God. Since the identity of the living entity is very minor, he is prone to be subjected to material nature. But when he is freed from this material body, which is false, he attains the same spiritual nature as the Supreme Lord. At that time, there is no qualitative difference between him and the Supreme Lord. But because he is not so quantitatively powerful as never to be put under the influence of material nature, he is quantitatively different from the Lord. Sajivo muktopi prakriti vashayogita swagunataha. That Jivatma, even if he is liberated, he is always fit to come under Prabhu. Swagunataha. That is his intrinsic nature. The entire process of devotion service is to purify oneself of this contamination of material nature and put oneself on the spiritual platform where he is qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is said that the living entity is always free. Sungohyayam Purushaha. The living entity is liberated. His material contamination is temporary, and his actual position is that he is liberated. This liberation is achieved by Krishna consciousness, which begins from the point of surrender. Therefore, it is said here, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Person. Asangohyayam. Krishna Chakravarti's explanation is straightforward and she does not. Okay. 15. यन्माययोर्गुणकर्म निबन्धनेऽस्मिन् सांसारिके पतिचरंस्तदभिश्रमेण नष्टस्मृतिः पुनर् अयं प्रवृणीतलोकं युक्त्या कया महदनुग्रहवन्तरेण. The human soul further prays. The living entity is put under the influence of material nature and continues a hard struggle for existence on the path of repeated birth and death. This conditional life is due to his forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, without the Lord's mercy, how can he again engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord? Nanu idrishi bhakti tvaya katham prapta. How did you attain this kind of bhakti? Iti tatra bhakteः प्राप्ति कारणं महत् अनुग्रह एव इत्याह. The answer to this question is that the reason for the attainment of bhakti is simply the mercy of the great soul. Yad तद्भविश्रमेण तत्पथपर्यटनश्रमेण हेतुना नष्टस्मृतिर् अयं मल्लक्षणो जनः मदनुग्रहं विना कया युक्त्या लोकं भगवतः धाम प्रवृणीत स्व अभीप्सितवरत्वेन वृणुयात् अपितु न कयापि. It's a rhetorical question here. Then, with the great difficulty, because of exhaustion caused by traveling within material existence. The souls travel from one body to another, to another, to another. So, in that way, being in a state of conditioning because of one's attachment to the modes of material nature, because of his karmic reactions and so on, the living entity has forgotten his memories. And this is nothing but a person like me. Without the mercy of the great souls, by what arrangement will he be able to accept the abode of the Supreme Lord? Will he, which means, will he accept that this is the best possible choice for me? अपि तु न कयापि, no arrangement. अतः therefore पूर्वजन्मनि कृष्णभक्तस्य कस्यचित् मद्गुरोः प्रसादविलसितम् एव एतत् मे कृष्णभक्तः इति भावः. Implication is, it is simply the mercy of my some spiritual master of mine who was a Krishna Bhakta in some previous lifetime of mine. It is due to that my service to Lord Krishna that is taking place now is shining. The Mayavadi philosophers say that simply by cultivation of knowledge by mental speculation, one can be liberated from the condition of material body. But here it is said that one is liberated not by knowledge but by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada, he takes Mahadanukram as the mercy of the Lord. Actually, it is the mercy of the Lord. The mercy of the Vaishnava is simply the mercy of Vishnu that is invested in that Vaishnava. But here it is said that one is liberated not by knowledge but by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. The knowledge the conditioned soul gains by mental speculation, however powerful it is always too imperfect to approach the absolute truth. It is said that without the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God, one cannot understand Him or His actual form, quality, and name. Those who are not in devotional service go on speculating for many, many thousands of years, but they are still unable to understand the nature of the absolute truth. One can be liberated in the knowledge of the absolute truth simply by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. It is clearly said here that our memory is lost because we are now covered by this material energy. Arguments may be put forward as to why we have been put under the influence of this material energy by the supreme will of the Lord. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and due to me, one is forgetful, or one is alive in knowledge. The forgetfulness of the conditioned soul is also due to the direction of the Supreme Lord. A living entity misuses his little independence when he wants to lord it over material nature. This misuse of independence, which is called Maya, is always available. Otherwise, there would be no independence. Independence implies that one can use it properly or improperly. It is not static, it is dynamic. Therefore, misuse of independence is the cause of being influenced by Maya. Maya is so strong that the Lord says that it is very difficult to surmount her influence, but one can do so very easily if he surrenders unto me. Mameva ye prapadyante. Anyone who surrenders unto him can overcome the influence of the stringent laws of nature. It is clearly said here that a living entity is put under the influence of Maya by his will. And if anyone wants to get out of this entanglement, this can be made possible simply by his mercy. The activities of the conditioned souls under the influence of material nature are explained here. Every conditioned soul is engaged in different types of work under the influence of material nature. You can see in the material world that the conditioned soul acts so powerfully that he is playing wonderfully in creating the so-called advancements of material civilization for sense gratification. But actually, his position is to know that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. That means he is meant to learn and understand this fact that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. When he is actually in perfect knowledge, he knows that the Lord is the supreme worshipful Lord, worshipful object. That means the object of his worship. And that the living entity is his eternal servant. Without this knowledge, he engages in material activities. This is called ignorance. 16. Yanam yatta dadhat katamah sadevas traikalikam stiracharesh yanuvartitamsha tam jiva karma padavim anuvartamanas tapatrayopashamanaya vayam bhajema. No one other than the Supreme Personality of God as the localized Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord, is directing all inanimate and animate objects. He is present in the three phases of time, past, present, and future. Therefore, the conditioned soul is engaged in different activities by his direction. And in order to get free from the threefold miseries of this conditional life, we have to surrender unto him only. Nanu tam parameshwaram kena pramanena gyatva bhajasi. On what evidence? On what basis do you know about this Supreme Lord, that you worship Him, that you serve Him? इति तत्र अनुमानेन एव इत्याह. Oh, it is simply by a logical inference. इत्याह ज्ञानं यद् मयि अधमे अधात् धारयामास अर्पयति स्म. The very fact that he can give me spiritual knowledge about himself, even to a fallen soul like Kadamaha. Who else could that person be other than the one and only Supreme Personality of God? Katamaha Devaha. Deveshu Madhye Kaschin Mukhya Bhavet. How many gods can there be? Amongst the Devas, one of them would be chief. Iti yat jnana anyatha anubhavatya eva anamiyamanam. This is a fact which has to be concluded as the conclusion of the last resort. There is no other way to logically explain this fact. So through that logical inference, it is understood. Traikalikam bhuta bhavishyat vartamana kaleshu virajamanam. There is this being who exists in the three phases of time: past, future, and present. Stirachareshu anuvartitaha is present along with the moving and non-moving creatures. Antaryami rupaha amshaha yena is present in the form of his plenary portion as the Antaryami, as the inner controller. Jiva sambandhinim karma padavim. Jiva sambandhinim karma padavim. Anuvartama. That is the nature of the Supreme Lord. However, the conditioned soul is in a different position. The conditioned souls, represented by this person who is offering prayer, he says, we are actually just pursuing the path of fruitive activities that have been provided for the Jiva souls. The conditioned soul is activities under his direction. When the conditioned soul is seriously anxious to get out of the influence of the material clutches, the Supreme Personality of God, who is situated with Paramatma, gives him this knowledge: surrender unto me. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, give up all other engagements, just surrender unto me. It is to be accepted that the source of knowledge is a Supreme Person. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam. The Lord says, through me, one gets real knowledge and memory, and also forgets through me. To one who wants to be materially satisfied or who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord gives the opportunity to forget his service and engage in the so-called habits of material activities. Similarly, when one is frustrated and lording it over material nature and is very serious about getting out of this material entanglement, the Lord from within gives him the knowledge that he has to surrender unto him. Then there is liberation. This knowledge cannot be imparted by anyone other than the Supreme Lord. Or his representative. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya instructs Rupa Goswami that the living entities wander in life after life, undergoing the miserable conditions of material existence, but when one is anxious to get free from the material entanglement, he gets enlightenment through a spiritual master and Krishna. This means that Krishna is a super soul, is seated within the heart of the living entity. And when the living entity is serious, the Lord directs him to take shelter of his representative, a bona fide spiritual master. directed from within and guided externally by the spiritual master, one attains the path of Krishna consciousness, which is the way out of the material clutches. Therefore, there is no possibility of one's being situated in his own position unless he is blessed by the Supreme Personality of God. Unless he is enlightened with the supreme knowledge, one has to undergo the severe penalties of the hard struggle for existence in the material. The spiritual master is therefore the mercy manifestation of the supreme person. The conditioned soul has to take direct instruction from the spiritual master, and thus he gradually becomes enlightened to the path of Krishna consciousness. The seed of Krishna consciousness is sown within the heart of the conditioned soul. And when one hears instruction from the spiritual master, the seed fructifies and one's life is blessed. 17. Dehyanya deha vivare yataragmina sring vinmutra kupa patito brishatapta deha ichannito vivasitum kanayan swamasan nirvasyate panadhir bhagavan gadanu fallen into a pool of blood, stool, and urine within the abdomen of his mother. His own body scorched by the mother's gastric fire. The embodied soul, anxious to get out, counts his months and prays, "Oh my Lord, when shall I, a wretched soul, be released from this confinement? Hey Prabhu, O Lord, mama dukkham sukham tva praptischa etat sarvam tvad My unhappiness, my happiness, my attainment of your lotus feet, all of this is completely under your control. Ityaham ati balyat ati tarunyacha kim api pritchami iti uddeshena eva bhagavantama. So therefore, because I am so much of a child, and because I am so much of a frivolous, youthful nature, I must inquire about this. And therefore, he asks the Supreme Lord himself, Iti uddeshena eva bhagavantamaha aham dehi अन्यदेह विवरे मातुः उदरकुहरे अतः इतः विवरात् वसितुं वियुक्ती भवितुम् इच्छन् स्वमासान् अयम् अष्टमः अयं दशमः इत्येवं गणयन् कृपणधीः स्वीय दुःख सुख दत्त दृष्टित्वात् कुबुद्धिः मल्लक्षणः अयं जनः कदा निर्वास्यते. I am upholding this body, and I'm inside the body of somebody else. In other words, I'm inside the abdomen of my mother. And I have a desire to get out of this situation. And I'm simply counting. Oh, this is the 8th month. And then this is the 10th month, and so on. And my intelligence is very much disturbed. Very much disturbed because of this distress, happiness, and so on. I only see the distress and happiness that has been provided to me. Basically, I am I-centered, and therefore, I'm a person of bad intelligence. Because if you have to develop proper intelligence, you need to see things objectively. Objectively, what is reality? But I don't, and I'm seeing only the happiness and distress that is being given to me. So when will this unintelligent person like me, when will I be extricated from this? Bahir nishkrama yishyate bhavata. When will I be extricated? When will I be taken out of the situation by you, your lordship? Iti atra tasya kastasya sodhum ashakyatva, because it is not possible to tolerate the distress of that situation. Bahireva tatra tvam bhajaya iti bhava. So the idea is that please make an arrangement that I can come outside of this so that I can engage in devotion service to you outside. It is just too painful, physically painful, a precarious condition, precarious, dangerous condition of the living entity within the womb of his mother is described here. On one side of where the child is floating, heat of the gastric fire, and on the other side are urine, stool, blood, and discharges. After 7 months, the child who has regained his consciousness feels the horrible condition of his existence and prays to the Lord. Counting the months until his release, he becomes greatly anxious to get out of the confinement. The so-called civilized man does not take account of this horrible condition of life, and sometimes for the purpose of sense gratification, he tries to kill the child by methods of contraception or abortion. Unserious about the horrible condition at home, such persons continue in materialism, grossly misusing the chance of the human form of life. The word kripanidhi is significant in this verse. Dhi means intelligent. Kripada means miserly. Conditional life is for persons who are of miserly intelligence or who do not properly utilize their intelligence. In the human form of life, the intelligence is developed and one has to utilize that developed intelligence to get out of the cycle of birth. One who does not do so is a miser, just like a person who has immense wealth but does not utilize it, keeping it simply to see. So repeatedly, you will find in Srimad Bhagavatam, human beings who do not engage in spiritual activities to attain full Krishna consciousness are considered misers. The idea being that the human body itself is an excellent facility in order to take up the pursuit of pure Krishna consciousness. One who does not do so is a miser, just like a person who has immense wealth but does not utilize it, keeping it simply to see. A person who does not actually utilize his human intelligence to get out of the clutches of Maya, the cycle of birth and death, is accepted as miserly. The exact opposite of miserly is udar, very magnanimous. A Brahmana is called udar because he utilizes his human intelligence for spiritual realization. He says that he uses that intelligence to reach Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the public. Therefore, he is magnanimous. 18. येनेदृशीं गतिमसौ दशमास्य ईश संग्राहितः हृदयेन भवादृशेन स्वेनैव तुष्यतु कृतेन स दीननाथः को नाम तत्प्रतिदिनाञ्जलिमस्य कुर्यात्. My dear Lord, by your causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness, although I am only 10 months old. Dashamasya. What is that? Dashamasya, 10 months old. Dashamasa parimitaha. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. 10 months old. For this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, there is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hands. Nanu tarhi kada nirvasyate. So then, when will I be taken out? Iti mam uktva mayi samprati api tvam itah bahir nishkramaya iti nirdayatvam kim prasanjayasi. इति तत्र सलज्जं सशंकं सरसनाद सरसनादं शं सात्वधिक्कारमः. So then the soul, it thinks that you're still not taking me out of this place. Are you not merciless? Would this not make you into a merciless being, a person? thinks like. And because he thinks like that, immediately he becomes filled with embarrassment and with fear. He bites his tongue and criticizes himself in the current verse. Okay, I should resume in the next session. I should see tomorrow onwards is Vishwa Panchaka. If any of you are following the vows of Vishwa Panchaka, then we should have our session after Vishwa Panchaka. Anyway, first of all, there's a question here. What is the question?
So here he's in the womb for 10 months.
Okay.
Generally 9 months is standard.
Here it may be some other consideration, some other calculation. Essentially, you have to look into Ayurvedic texts. What is meant by a month? Is it 4 weeks?
Okay.
Prabhu, here I don't know, it may be coming in the commentary, but the question came that he is thanking the Lord that you gave me consciousness. But what is the use of consciousness? Because now he is feeling the pain. Before he was not feeling the pain. Now he is unable to tolerate the distress.
No, but he is thanking the Lord for spiritual consciousness. It's not simply that he has become awakened. That is not the reason why he is thanking the Lord. He's thanking the Lord that he is able to remember his relationship with the Supreme.
Oh. This is the fortunate soul praying to Lord, not the normal conditions.
Yes. There is only the fortunate.
Okay.
All right. Panchakalpataruvyasya kripasidibhyo ch pattanam bhavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namaha.